A warm welcome back everybody, and we've reached the final stitch on the wheel. This one's going to be Quaker Stitch, which was done on the Quaker tapestry and invented by Anne Wynne Wilson. There's a lovely little stitch guide on the Quaker tapestry and techniques, stitches and tips by Bridget Guest. I was told about this book by a lady who comes on my courses. The stitch, Quaker Stitch, is really good for lettering, and I'll just show you an example of that in the book. So this lovely bicycle here, and you can see the letters here done in Quaker Stitch. It's a mixture of split back stitch and stem stitch. So you may need to practice it to start with, and then we'll do it on the wheel. I've drawn a curve shape here, and to start we're going to do a little stitch, a stitch about half the length that you would perhaps normally do, and then come up just at the top of it there, and take a stitch down another half distance away. So I'm stitching from left to right because I'm right-handed, and then you're going to come up and split that stitch that you did previously. And then take a stitch down and come up and split the stitch. So you can see you're doing split back stitch, but you're also doing stem stitch. And it has a lovely raised effect. So you must split that stitch there. It's perhaps not as good for tiny lettering. I find this very satisfying to do. Now, because I'm right-handed, I'm keeping my thread to the left or at the bottom. Left-handers will keep their thread at the top or to the right. So it's quite good for curves, as you can see. So to finish the stitch, just come up through your last one and tuck the needle under that stitch there, like that. Now I'll just show left-handers. So take a stitch down, come up just in the same place or just above it, and you're stitching from right to left, and you're keeping your thread on top or to the right dependent on which angle you're stitching. So take your needle down and up through that stitch. Needle down and up through. That's it. Well, I've decided to put my initials in this final section here because the Quaker Stitch lends itself really nicely to lettering. If you've put your initials somewhere else or you don't fancy doing that, you can do a wiggly line or whatever you fancy. You could put the year that you've completed the stitch wheel in. But I've just decided to put my initials there. Obviously, if you do lettering, then you need to decide which way up your stitch wheel is going to be. So if you've got a different section free and you don't want to have your wheel that way up, then put something different there. So we're just going to start as we did on the hoop with a little stitch and then come up at the top of it. Take a stitch down further away from that stitch and then come up, splitting that original stitch there. So what you get with this stitch is on one side, if you look at it side on, you get a split back stitch, and on the other side you get the stem stitch. So the stem stitch is on this side and the split back stitch on the other side. And it's actually, once you get used to it, quite a simple stitch to do. I thought a nice one to finish with because it's one that you might not have come across. You would move your work around. I'm trying not to do that so it stays in the picture for you. But I just want to finish this letter so that you can see how to finish. So I'm going to just tuck my thread around that stitch there. Don't pull it too tight. And then I'm going to do the other letter. So I'll show you when I've finished. There's my lettering complete and the wheel is now finished. I am going to do another video about finishing touches, so join me for that.